So the campaign group Yerga Africa, in association with the Senate and House committees on electoral matters, rallying the public and the National Assembly to push for deeper electoral reform. The idea is to create a platform for constructive dialogue, as the Speaker of the House put it, one that allows participation and input in moulding the future of Nigerian elections, whilst providing a guide to shaping electoral reform legislation. But how much of a priority is further electoral reform beyond the big talking shop that we saw today? Are they really, as they said, properly and unwaveringly dedicated to making bold, far-reaching changes that would really significantly improve Nigeria's electoral system?
Senate, we have already commenced the implementation of a pragmatic electoral reform work plan, which is centered on training and exposure to best applicable practice, consultations and collaborations, as well as working with meaningful timelines. And most important to us is the independence, welfare, and protection of the electoral institution and its staff. Political parties, candidates, and electorates also have their share of responsibility in the electoral process, responsibilities that must be moderated by law and quoted by a sense of civic responsibility.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined now by the man you saw in that clip, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, Senator Sharafadeen Alli, who is the senator representing Oyo South Senatorial District. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Must have been a long day for you, so we appreciate your being here. What's your assessment of that town hall that took place today? A step in the right direction of electoral reform, or a big moment in that direction?
It's a huge success. It's a step in the right direction. But like you know, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And like I said, it is just one in the series of what we're going to do. We are going around the country to let it be all-inclusive, so that people will be involved in the lawmaking and as such have confidence in the process.
But obviously today was a big show. I mean, it's the opening sort of show. I mean, even if it was a positive show, it was a show. I mean, at what point is it going to go from being a show to being reality? When will it be scaled up?
Thank you very much. 2 weeks ago, we had a retreat in Lagos. That was sponsored by Plaque. And after today, we are at this verge of setting up a technical committee to now, as people are talking after every event, we'll start putting things on paper to be able to see. And like I said later in the morning, 2023 elections are not yet over, because there are provisions for dispute resolution, and some are still at the Supreme Court level stage, a few at the Court of Appeal. So not until all those have been done that we can say that elections are over, and we'll be able to see the thinking or the way the judiciary will interpret some of these laws. If it's in tune with the thinking of the drafters, well, fine. If it's not, then we'll find a way of probably removing all the ambiguities, making them more clearer, or changing the law as the case may be.
So today's event is an indication, is it, that further, deeper electoral reform is now a priority at the National Assembly?
Yes, it is. And let me say this before I say that. The Electoral Act of 2022 is a fundamental change from the past, and is the best that we have had so far. But as soon as we put it to practice, we saw that there are still some loopholes. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, to now make sure that we make amends and make things so that let Nigerians be involved. Maybe there are some things that by the time you go out and meet the people, they'll be able to tell you, like somebody said something jokingly today, don't give us professors again as INEC chairman. And Professor Jega just laughed. But that's just that person's opinion. We may hear some other things.
But what are the loopholes that you see in that Electoral Act?
Not loopholes per se. We just really believe that we need to amend some things.
You need to tighten things.
Tighten some
and
things.
what are those things?
There are some that are ambiguous. There are also issues that people are talking about the appointment of INEC chairman, the national commissioners, and the resident electoral commissioners. There's also the issue of unbundling INEC, that INEC is carrying so much load, and as such, some of this, they should shed some of these to some other agencies, or governments should establish some other agencies to take up such roles.
But how much do you think that sort of thing will resonate in the National Assembly?
Well, I want to tell you that we have an uncommon Senate. Our president is uncommon. And you heard from his speech today that we are determined to key into the renewed agenda of Mr. President and make things better for this country.
Yeah, but is it the agenda of the president or the agenda of the Nigerian people? Because the whole point of what you did today is
the
a
agenda
citizens'
of the
town
Nigerian
hall.
people.
Right.
Because,
I mean, what if the president doesn't want the power to be taken from
when
him
the president
to appoint
was going around the country,
the INEC chairman?
when he was going around the country, and people voted for him, it's because they believed in what his plans are.
Well, a tiny fraction of the electorate voted for him. 63% voted for the opposition. So he didn't get a majority.
He didn't get a majority.
So what he got is not a reflection of what the Nigerian people want.
No, it's a reflection because it's spread across the entire Nigeria.
Yeah, but the percentage
that's one
is
of the
not
things
enough,
that we discussed today. We discussed today.
Right.
Having the spread is one thing that is very important. And like I said,
having a minority spread is what you mean.
It's not a minority.
Well, it is a minority.
You could say it's a minority spread. And what you are saying is, you are like somebody talking this morning that we should use the method that has been used by some other African countries of 50% of total votes plus one. And I did say that will be difficult. Nigeria is a very big country compared to these other countries that we're talking about. Even where we had such a thing, it was Liberia, the last one, at the first run. The first one was 43.8, 43.4. The next one is also about the same number. So what it means is that it is this same set of numbers that you still continue to have, even in Nigeria.
Well, in this case, it was a particularly low number, but you could make the argument that unlike before, where you normally had two front runners,
there were three.
You had basically four, in fact.
Four, yes, actually four. They were four. And as such, that it's going to be difficult for anybody to have a very significant.
There is an argument there, although I wouldn't hold on to that argument. But I mean, just getting back to what happened today. I mean, the idea was to engage with the Nigerian people.
Yes,
How much engagement was there today?
It's a lot, because a lot of civil society organizations and Nigerians, because apart from listening to presentations by civil society organizations, we also allowed people in the hall to talk as Nigerians, because we wanted everybody to say, what do you think? Just give us one minute of what you think should be done into the electoral process. It's about getting Nigerians. And like I said, we are still going around.
Yeah.
We have started very well, I think.
Well, I mean, your enthusiasm is quite effusive. You know, it's impressive to see that you're the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, and you seem to be quite enthusiastic. I mean, that gives the Nigerian people hope. Whether or not that enthusiasm will filter through the National Assembly
It's going to filter through
is another question. But if you were to boil down or distill what happened today, or what seems to be the central problem with Nigeria's electoral system, what would you say it is? Would you say that people are concerned about electoral justice, for example?
Well, people are. And what essentially what they want is, they want a free, fair, and credible elections. And one of the ways by which we can get at that is to look at the things that we perceive are not right to 2022 Electoral Act, and as such, look at it. Like somebody said something today, that we are judicializing the electoral process. That is like so many cases are going to the Supreme Court or our courts, and it's the judiciary that is now making the laws. That's one of the functions of judiciary. It is part of making laws, because when you
when you set precedents, it becomes part of the body of laws. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but it can be excessive.
And you look at
can't
even
it?
the percentage of people who go to courts. Look at the number of those who succeeded. It still means that INEC tried in the last election, like the National Assembly, like in the House of Senate, for example. I think we lost only, about 4 to 6 members.
Yeah, but
out of the 109.
Yeah, but I think the issue is not about trying, is it? It's about delivering free and fair elections on a consistent basis.
I think it, because if you look at the percentage of 6 out of 109, it's less than 10%. That's not just about trying, it's the deliverance.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you talked about the president. Yes. You're obviously a member of the APC.
That's right.
The president is from your party.
All right.
How much of a priority is electoral reform to the APC government?
If it is not one, I won't be this enthusiastic.
Well, you may be enthusiastic.
No.
It's not a reflection of what the government. I mean,
our party is
and you're
interested.
not a member of the executive. You're a member of the legislature.
I'm not.
Yeah. So.
But the truth is,
the government is.
Before we do some of these things,
right.
we have what we do within the party.
You talk to each other.
You talk to each
other.
other.
You get your instructions, do you?
Not instructions.
Right.
We dialogue. And know the feelings of the party.
Right.
And after some point, we'll still go back and have meetings. I mean, the committees will meet all the political parties, executives.
Right.
To see.
And bring them on board.
These are the things that we're thinking about. What are your feelings about it?
Because a lot of people would say that, I mean, there may be some reluctance on the part of the APC, given that whatever system was already in place favored you in the last election.
If you say favored, I do not think so. That is what the feeling of Nigeria.
Well, it still favored you, whether
you
interpret it as
and
feeling or not.
The fact that we still believe there must see some improvements.
Right.
It does not mean that because we are the ruling party, we should not make amends where we think they are necessary.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
So that's it.
So you have to inspire trust in the people and show that you're running the country for everybody.
Especially, for example,
not some people.
A lot of people complained about uploading results on the IRF and felt it is. But I keep telling people, Beavers is the game changer. It's not about uploading. The uploading is not the law, and that has been so stated by the courts. It's not the law, it's a regulation. And we must be very careful about deployment of technology. If you say you want to deploy and it fails, what happens? That's a possibility. It will happen to your station.
Well, obviously, you will have within the law a fallback plan.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And that's what exactly INEC did.
What people want is for it to say ineluctably that this is what the first choice is.
If it is made compulsory,
right,
and you now decide to go to the fallback position, there will be a problem in court again.
Yeah, I understand the point you're making.
Because INEC complained that there were about over 2,000 or 5,000 attempts at hacking their system that day. Let's look at this situation. If the hackers had succeeded and uploaded different or false results, it would have been worse problem today.
Yeah, but there's still the feeling that false results when eventually the thing was uploaded.
No.
Anyway, it's a complicated thing. I mean, you're the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters. And as I said, you come across as quite impressive in your enthusiasm for electoral reform. How do you think, I know you've mentioned some things, but just take a couple of minutes to tell us how you think the 2022 Electoral Act can be improved upon.
One, in that law, it is stated that pre-election matters would go up to Supreme Court. The same law says election disputes itself, election petitions for the National Assembly will end at the Court of Appeal.
Yeah.
If the main elections will end at the Court of Appeal, why do we have to have pre-elections to go up to Supreme Court? These are things that we believe that we must correct. Two, we try to see how we can abridge the time. I remember before now, election disputes used to last 2-3 years. And when the idea came that let's reduce it, abridge it to 180 days, and I was like, it's not possible. We have seen that it's possible. If you have to reduce it again with technology, with what we are doing today, we have to. And also, another thing is the issue of having people elected, sworn in, and the cases will still be there. The belief of Nigerians is that we think that pre-election matters ought to be concluded before the main election, and that election disputes should be concluded before swearing in. So this means that we may have to abridge some of these times, the timelines, and also drag the thing back a little bit. Like the last election, we took between primaries and election was about 8 months. To me, that was too long. It used to be just about 60 days in times past. So by the time, and I'm sure by the time we start abridging these times, the period from primaries to election would then be reduced. Because we may have to bring it back so that we have enough time before this Friday.
And
another
thing you're saying, yeah,
is a lot of people are talking. We have not had a consensus about the appointment of INEC. Some people are talking about Uwe's report. Yes, there's Uwe's reports. But we also have Lemo reports after that. We have Kanina Mani's reports. And we also have a report that looked at all by Begore. So people should not just be thinking about just one. We want to see how we can look at them all. There are some of the things that are in Uwe's report that are not in consonance with today's reality.
Like what?
Well, I don't want to mention anything now. I don't want to mention anything now.
Because everybody we've spoken to, I mean, from senior advocates of Nigeria, people who were on that committee, people who are electoral reformists,
a lot of
even people like Atahiru Jega
let me
and
tell you
so on,
something.
they speak about it.
A lot of people just come on air. Many of us don't even read the law, don't know what the law says. Not until when decisions were made that people knew that uploading to the IRF is not a law, it's a regulation.
Yeah,
by INEC.
But anyway, that's another argument, because I don't want to get into it. But there are some people who argue, and some legal people
that the
who
national
argue
chairman INEC
that
promised
empowering the Electoral Commission to make regulations is in itself a law.
It is a law.
Yeah,
it is a subsidiary legislation.
Absolutely.
And as such, if it is not obeyed at times, it is not compulsory.
Anyway, that's another thing altogether. Let me ask you this, because you're obviously beyond being a member of. I mean, you were telling me you've been, the local government. You've gone through the entire strata of politics. I mean, you haven't become the president, but
no.
but you've certainly.
I won't become a governor.
You've got, yeah, that's right. You've got to the Senate. I mean, how much is the key in all this really the change in attitude of politicians? I mean, if the politicians don't reform themselves and their party machinery, there's not much latitude, is there, for effective change, in spite of the reforms that you're trying to do?
Like I said initially, and I said it in the morning, a politician is a reflection of Nigerian society.
Yeah, but that's not a good enough excuse, is it?
No, I'm coming.
Yeah.
At a retreat in Lagos, one very senior former officer of INEC said there was one of the elections that we went to conduct, and he saw people across the road from the polling units, all looking towards one direction. And he went and asked them, what is happening? He said, we are waiting for him. Who are they waiting for? They didn't know.
The one who's got the manna from heaven, eh?
So they looked at, and when he started asking questions, they knew that this one is a stranger. They just refused to. And after some time, somebody came and did what he was supposed to do.
Right.
And everybody, they started going to queue on the line. The problem is not just about politicians. It's all our problems.
No, I understand that, but
And
politicians are key. A key part of the problem, aren't they? Right.
But if you decide, for example, you are complaining about vote buying, I can decide not to buy votes if somebody else decides to do so.
Yeah, but that's why we said politicians. If all the politicians decided they're not going to pay people for votes, then that reform has taken place, hasn't it?
It's like I told you when we started. It is not going to. It didn't get there one day. It's not going to stop one day. There has been improvements. You cannot now say people hijack ballot boxes again, because as soon as elections are over and the thing is sent, transmitted by the beavers, even if you snatch the ballot box.
Well, I'll be curious to see what emerges in the end. But
even the last election, as soon as there were elections, you don't need the ballot papers again, except people are contesting it and you want to count.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of other dodgy issues around the process. But let me say this. What's the time frame for these reforms to be legislated and to take concrete shape? I presume you're trying to get things done before the 2027 election.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give a timeline, but the reality, I would want to assure Nigerians that we're going to make sure that we do everything before we start the primaries.
Okay.
Political party primaries.
Well, I want to thank you very much indeed for coming in to talk to us. It's been great talking with you, and hopefully as this progresses, we'll have a chance to talk with you again.
I'm available anytime.
Shamsuddin Abiodun Ali. Abiodun Ali is a senator. He is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms, and he's also the senator representing Oyo South Senatorial District. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
It's been good talking with you.
And good night, Nigeria.